And now, it's that time of the week once again. Welcome to the Departure Lounge podcast with your hosts, Tom Whittle and Steve Wooldridge. Your ticket to the home of aviation podcasts. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight.
Yes, it's that time of the week once again where we're here to talk nothing but aviation. It's podcast time, and it's episode 26 of the Departure Lounge podcast here on the Departure Lounge YouTube channel, and of course on Spotify if you are listening back on there. My name is Tom Whittle, and joining me this evening is my wonderful co-host Steve Wooldridge. So Steve, good evening, how are you?
Good evening, Tom. Good evening, everyone watching on YouTube and catching up on Spotify during the week. Doing pretty well, thank you very much. Another show to look forward to tonight, and sort of different sort of view on aviation from someone else.
Certainly will be. It's going to be a fascinating evening of aviation talk, that's for sure. And I'm looking forward to getting into that. But first, also joining us this evening is our resident comment reader. Found out during the week he's a big fan of chutney. It is Ian Hartley. Hey. Ian, very good evening to you.
Yep. Good evening to yourself, Tom. I'm very good, thank you. Yep. Just talking over you and interrupting you there. Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Tom. You all right, Steve?
Evening, chutney champ. How are you?
Yeah, very, very good. Chutney chump.
I will say, for anybody that's kind of confused, it's a little inside joke that we've got going, but yeah, so that's fine. But yeah, hope everybody is well and has had a fantastic sort of weekend. Let's dive into the housekeeping, and then we will crack on with tonight's show. So, in the description below, you can have a look at our social medias if you wish to give us a follow, or whatever it is you do on any of these social medias. To keep up to date with the show. We have some major changes coming, and they will sort of be announced at the end of the show, but we sort of hinted on them on social media, so do go and follow us on there to keep up to date. As I said, we are on Spotify as well, so this episode will be up 24 hours later, so tomorrow evening, from when you listen to the show, as well as all the other 25 episodes that we've done previously, all on the show as well. And of course, if you wish to become a guest on the podcast at any point, do feel free to message us on any of the social medias. We got a few spaces in October. If you wish to come on then, like I say, just drop us a message. We will get you on as soon as. As far as I'm aware, I think that is it. So, yes, if you've got any comments or you just want to say hello, get your comments into the chat and we'll get them read out throughout the evening as we go along. But shall we jump into a bit of news and we'll do a bit of a catch-up of the last 7 days?
Yep, that definitely sounds good. See what's been going on in the world.
Wonderful. So first up, we're going to begin with something that we spoke about. Oh, when was this? I can't think which episode it was, but it was a good couple of weeks back. We did it with, who did we do that with? It will come to me in a minute. No, it's gone. I'll just carry on anyway. So we were speaking about hydrogen aircraft, and we were speaking about sort of aircraft of the future, and it turns out that this week, Air New Zealand have partnered up with Airbus, looking to sort of research how hydrogen-powered aircraft could assist the airline in reaching its goal of becoming a net zero emissions airline by the year 2050. So we did have a discussion about this a while back, and we were sort of saying that we didn't think it would work. But now that obviously Air New Zealand have chimed in and sort of want to give it a go, Steve, it's a pretty good move in terms of wanting to go down the hydrogen route.
Yeah, I think also with New Zealand as a country, I think it's sort of quite pioneering in green energy and wanting to be a green country, you don't sort of associate it with sort of polluting factories and what have you. So it's quite interesting that New Zealand have sort of pioneered the move to sort of want to go hydrogen, and obviously the rest of the industry can sort of sit back and see how it works for them. But I imagine it will be on their shorter routes at the moment.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I mean, like I say, as we discussed it and we showed pictures of the aircraft and stuff, there was no sort of wide bodies really, apart from that sort of ugly looking thing that I'm sure people have seen with the pictures. But the CEO of Air New Zealand, Greg Foran, told Simple Flying that this agreement brings us a step closer to our net zero emissions by 2050 commitment and to realising our aspiration to put low carbon solutions in place for shorter domestic and regional flights in the next decade. He also went on to say that New Zealand has the unique opportunity to be a world leader in the adoption of zero emission aircraft, given the country's commitment to renewable energy, which can be used to generate green hydrogen and our highly connected regional air network. So it's definitely a step in the right direction, and obviously Air New Zealand are going to be want to be the pioneer really to sort of inspire other airlines to kind of go down the same route in terms of your shorter sort of routes really.
Yeah, they're saying that Airbus are looking to start rolling these out in 2035, which it seems quite a way off, but in reality it's only 14 years before this is sort of going to become a reality.
It is getting ever closer to sort of, like I say, you've got British Airways sort of doing the sort of the flights now with sort of sustainable fuel with their A320neo and obviously Air New Zealand want to be the first to kind of bring in hydrogen, so we can only sort of wait and see what happens, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it would be exciting, and obviously green's the way forward to sort of appease everyone who's slightly anti the pollutants of airplanes and that, and it might even open the door for more people to actually want to travel by air if it's greener. Absolutely.
Like I say, if anyone's got any comments to do with any of the news pieces, do feel free to drop them in. Or like I say, if you've got anything that you want us to read out throughout the show, drop them in there as well. But we'll move on to the second news piece that we have, which is news that Ryanair are to launch a Dublin crew training centre worth $59 million in order to fund more jobs. Obviously, with the amount of jobs that were lost during the pandemic, this is Ryanair's way of sort of trying to give back to the aviation industry by creating more jobs. I know everybody gives Ryanair a bit of a bad time in terms of what they're known for, which is that the hard landings, and almost seem like they don't really sort of have too much of a care about what's happening. But this is definitely another sort of thumbs up and another move in order to sort of get people back into the industry.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely it, isn't it? And with the rollout of their 737 Maxes, they're going to have a simulator for that, and interestingly, a couple of A320 simulators, which, whilst they've got Lauda as a subsidiary of the company, it might suggest that they might be looking at sort of going across to 320s in the future.
That's right, and also with the it's all due to the fact that they obviously have a huge number of 737 MAX aircraft to obviously be delivered to replace some of the older 737 800s at the moment, and of course they're going to be expanding their fleet, and of course if you're expanding your fleet you need more people. So it's estimated that over the sort of next 5 years that Ryanair anticipate that it will hire and train over 5,000 new colleagues, including pilots, cabin crew, engineers and ground handling staff. So these jobs will all sort of be required to operate the MAX fleet. So it's a fantastic sort of move for an airline that doesn't really get much of a positive sort of can't think of the word, but there's not much positivity about them in the media. But this is definitely sort of a sort of a game changer in terms of moving Ryanair onto the next step.
Well, that's it. And with the the training for not only the pilots but the cabin crew, you can sort of expect that the passenger experience will probably improve with updated training methods, updated aircraft. So perhaps in time Ryanair will sort of lose a little bit of that reputation that they've got for being a bit sort of will get you there, but it won't be particularly comfortable sort of reputation they've had for a little while now.
Yeah. Ryanair CEO Eddie Wilson said that they look to invest, they've invested 50 million euros into the state-of-the-art training centre, which will create obviously the 5,000 new jobs we've just spoken about, and sort of these 210 aircraft to be delivered over the next 5 years, which will enable Ryanair to grow and carry 200 million passengers per year by 2025. That is a hell of a lot of passengers to take in. So it's in sort of, this is each year like growing every 200 million passengers. So it's a huge number to kind of put your target down for, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely phenomenal, isn't it? And I think they're not sort of in danger of not making those figures. Although they seem optimistic, Ryanair, whether we like it or not, probably the biggest carrier in Britain for getting you to sort of holiday destinations at not breaking the bank. So it's obviously a business model that passengers buy into, and if they can get better aircraft, better training, then obviously more people are going to buy into it.
Absolutely. So yeah, fingers crossed for them that they can get that to work and get that to kind of achieve, even if they don't achieve their target, to achieve something close to it, because it's a fantastic step forward in the right direction.
Well, so, obviously not just the jobs in the air it's going to create jobs on the ground, sort of within the facility and within sort of the admin and all that kind of sides of things. So it's not just what happens in the skies as well. It's going to be ground crew and all that sort of business as well. So it's really, really positive, isn't it?
It is. And for our final piece, there is rumours on the internet, I should say, of the livery of the airline that will replace Alitalia after October the 14th. As we know, Alitalia will be saying goodbye to our skies once and for all, and they get replaced with an airline called ITA. I think it's Italia Transportes, something like that. I don't know. It's something close to that. And this came from Twitter, and I saw this during the week, and I was like, I'm probably going to mention this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. But this on the screens now, if you're watching on YouTube, is the rumoured livery for the replacement airline for Alitalia. Can we spot any sort of similarities between this one and what Alitalia have currently?
They've if you watched last week's show, done exactly what Swiss did, haven't they? And just kept the exact same livery, but sort of changed the badge, as it were. It's unmistakable what it is, despite it not being what it currently is, if that sort of makes sense.
Yeah, it's a fascinating livery. The tail to me looks a bit messy in terms of, I think probably you got the colours maybe sort of the wrong way, but it's sort of a nod to the heritage of Alitalia, but it is sort of very Euro white. Ian, I just want to sort of bring you in. What's your thoughts on this?
Like you say, there's definitely a nod to the airline's heritage, isn't it? Definitely, with the A on the end of the ITA. And like you say, Tom, again, it's just another Euro white, very bland, straight to the point livery, isn't it? It just says what it says, and that's it. There's nothing outstanding about it. There's nothing really eye-catching about it. The tail I quite like, I'll be quite honest. I'd like to see the other side where you say that the colours were the wrong way around. If you was to look at the other side of the tail, would it be the right way around? I don't know, but yeah, there's nothing outstanding about it, is there at all? It's just says what it says, and that's it, isn't it? It looks like a low-cost carrier to me. That.
Yeah, to me, it's more of a rebrand than a new company. You could almost sort of, if you saw it show up tomorrow, you'd assume what it was, being a Alitalia already. Yeah. On a special livery, almost.
I was reading the other day that the actual business was still up for sale at there was a starting price of something like 290 million euros or something for it. I was reading the other day, so I don't know what's going on there.
Not sure myself, really. Yeah, not sure myself, really. It's what I do know is obviously we're going to end up seeing the first A330 in this livery. Obviously, don't be fooled about the 737s. I don't think they're planning on having those. This is just a mock-up sort of thing. Like I said, it's a rumour that I found on Twitter. Thought it was worth sharing, and I want to kind of get everybody's opinion, really. If this is to be the livery that actually replaces the Alitalia one, whether people thought it was great or not. I think it's okay. I like the fact that the A is a nod to Alitalia, but other than that, Euro white. I mean, you don't really want to get too close to the old Alitalia, and sort of have sort of the connections to it. So, yeah, it's a strange one, but I'm sort of on the fence with it. I like it, but at the same time, I don't.
It's quite lazy, isn't it? The way it's been designed.
It's taking me down the Tap Portugal road. I'm sorry, but it is. Well, let's not start that debate again. But yeah, it is. They could have done a bit more, couldn't they? They could have put, like, I know Tom likes his cheat lines, but if they would have stuck a cheat line outside or something, it would have just broke all that Euro white up, wouldn't it, and just made it a little bit, more pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, I see what you mean. A green and red stripe on it, just to sort of make it slightly different. Yeah. You never know. You see a 330 in them colours or something, it might look a total different beast altogether. It might look really nice. So I think you'd have to see one in real life, wouldn't you, in a proper photograph rather than a mock-up of it, and see it from different angles and whatever, to gauge a proper to see if you liked it or not.
A proper photo of it on a plane that's actually going to wear it is probably going to be a lot better to see. So it's definitely one of those that we would sort of have to wait and see once that livery does come out. But yeah, that's going to sort of end the news section for this week. Before we get our guest on for this evening, I have just put a poll into the chat. Simply asking, if you were to buy a T-shirt, with a logo T-shirt of any kind, do you prefer the logo to be small, like a little crest, or do you prefer sort of a large and blazoned across the chest sort of T-shirt? Get your we're all Cornish then. Get your Get your votes in, and we'll read out obviously the winner at the end of the show. But yeah, before we carry on, Ian, a couple of people saying hello, so I'll let you read those out.
Yeah, we've got Rob Brown playing spotting. Good evening, guys. A big hello from a sunny Scotland, which he doesn't get many chances to write that, does he?
No.
Good evening to you, Rob. Ricky Grimshaw, good evening, guys. Good evening to you as well, Ricky.
Yeah,
Rob's put on as well. ITA livery lacks that famous Italian flair and is still undecided. You think of Italy, you think of Ferraris, don't you, and your Lamborghinis and drinking martinis and stuff like that, and it hasn't got that flair at all, has it? It just looks like another bland Euro white livery. So I agree with Rob on that.
Yes.
It doesn't got that flair at all.
Yeah, do keep getting your comments in, and like I say, we'll read them out throughout the show. And if you've got any questions for tonight's guest as well, do get those in as well. But I think it's about time that we bring the guest on. So, this week's guest is an aviation photographer. You can follow her on Instagram, which you can see obviously on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. and we're going to be chatting about plane spotting, air shows, museums, and some of the interesting aircraft that she's seen. Hold on a second. I'm just looking at the screen now. I've got an error message.
Yeah, I had that error, Tom. I've had to restart my computer.
Bear with me.
How was your
trip?
How was your trip to Blackpool today, Ian?
Unproductive, I would say. I think on Friday I was watching the US Air Force C-40, the 737, coming up from Stansted with, is it Nancy Pelosi? She were doing the G7 speakers summit thing at Astley Park, just down the road from me. I saw that coming up from Birmingham on flight radar. So I thought, well, I'm only probably 5 miles outside Wharton. I knew where it was coming. So jump in car, grab my camera. I thought I'll get a few nice pictures of it on its way into Wharton. Couple of things happened on way there, and the 737 flew right over the top of my head at about 200 or 300 feet on its final approach. So I was absolutely wounded.
Disaster.
Yeah, so I missed that. And then today I went to see the Italian. I'm just trying to think which plane it was. What were coming in? It weren't the Falcon. It was a German. Oh God, it's in me. I can't think what. Anyway, I thought I'd go and see that, not realising I was 2 hours early for it. So I missed that as well. So a bit of a disaster. I got a few little snaps, and that were about it. Yourself, Steve? You've been up to much?
I went to Bournemouth today. A couple of the Falcons went out, which was incredible because they were actually missiled up, so they had to stop the traffic for them today, which I haven't ever seen before.
Okay.
The 340 came out, parked on the runway, and then something went tech, so they had to drag it off the runway while this poor old Ryanair was doing laps of the runway trying to land in. But I did get some decent shots of the 340 leaving sort of an hour later than it should have, and then one of the Ryanair when it eventually landed down there. So
yeah, does Bournemouth Airport have like a dedicated sort of taxiway alongside the runway? Like, I mean, Manchester runway, the new runway, as they call it, runway 2, hasn't got one. And if they want to taxi down to it, they've got to taxi down the runway and turn at the end and come back up again. Is it sort of a similar kind of thing? Or do they have
no, they do.
Taxiway? All right, so it's a proper runway then.
Yeah, they do have the taxiways, but at the moment there's actually an A330 parked right in the way of one of them, so they had to go a strange old route today to get on the runway, and I've never seen it before. They pulled him back halfway down the runway and had to tug it all the way back.
Right.
It got tugged back rather than under its own steam.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Right. Was it one Johnny were flying? Do you know? Or was he in it?
Oh, I don't know. He certainly has been in New York. He was sharing his stories on Instagram, and I can't say I was anything but massively, massively jealous.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I think we're good. I think we're good. I've just checked on my phone. We're still going, so it's all good.
Okie dokie.
All right, so we'll carry on. I just can't see what I'm doing, but it's fine. So, yeah, like I said, this evening's guest, we've made her wait for long enough, so we'll bring her on. It's aviation photographer Julia. Do you know what? The inner Cornish in me wants to come out. Right.
Couldn't even get the simple bit right.
Honest to God.
Say something or other.
No, honest to God. Right, we'll try again. It's... right, try and do this without messing it up. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Julia Czerniakow.
Hey, everyone. I'm so happy to be here, and I hope everyone's fine.
We're all good. We're happy to have you here.
I'm very happy to be here as well.
Yeah, equally, nice to have you along, and we look forward to hearing what you've got to sort of say about your plane spotting and all the other stuff that you sort of do with the aviation.
Oh, once I start, I'm never going to stop.
Nothing wrong with that at all. But if you have any questions for Julia this evening, put them into the chat. We'll ask her as the show goes on. Julia, do you want to sort of just introduce yourself and tell us sort of what really got you into aviation?
Okay. Well, I was thinking a lot what's my first memory with aviation, and I think it goes back to when I was 7 years old, and now I'm 23 now. It was first flight with my parents, and we were going to Rome. And my mom keeps saying that I was always staring outside the windows in the plane, and I was just having the biggest smile on my face. And she was like, "How are you not afraid? How are you just so happy about the planes taking off?" I was like, "I don't know." So I think that was the first thing that got me into aviation, was the travels that I had with my parents. Because every year we used to go to some other place, and we always used to fly, and that was literally the best thing ever.
Oh, yeah, you obviously hooked from that point on.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't suppose it was obviously a little while ago. Do you remember what airline or aircraft it was? It doesn't matter if you don't, of course. It's obviously been a while.
I think it was travel service. Lately, I actually caught travel service again. And I don't know how many travel service livery planes are flying now, because I know I have no idea what's the story behind them, I think, actually. But I know we flew a lot with travel service because they were like, well, it was either travel service or Wizz Air, because that was the operator of the travel agency we used. So this one was for sure the travel service plane.
Yeah, there's actually a travel service in Bournemouth at the moment, an A330, which now belongs to Malafair, which is sort of part of European Cargo. So it's still knocking about.
Yeah, but I was so surprised because I used to spot at Heathrow quite a lot, and I think I just saw one travel service plane. I was like, wow, it's still flying there. It's still there. So the memories got back.
Yeah, amazing. You obviously go up to Heathrow, which I'm sure we all sort of agree is the Disneyland of plane spotting. What's your sort of favourite locations and favourite aircraft to spot there?
Favorite location is for me obviously Myrtle Avenue, because it's just as close to the planes as you could get, and you can also see the Concorde from across the road. So it's like absolutely amazing. Just getting to see all the planes flying. But I remember when I got to see with my boyfriend, we went to see the Air Force One arriving, and it was absolutely amazing. It was just I get goosebumps whenever I think about it. Just being able to be so close to the Air Force One aircraft, it was just mind blowing. I think it was the biggest memory with Myrtle Avenue that I have, is watching Air Force One arriving and everyone just around being just as excited as I am. So it was amazing.
Yeah, I think I was going to say Tom had the pleasure of seeing it leave Cornwall that day.
That's right. Yeah, paid the price for it by getting absolutely sunburnt to
the same.
The worst kind of the worst sunburn I think I've ever had was that, but it was worth it just to see Air Force One.
Everything's
so I'll take it.
It was a once in a lifetime opportunity, weren't it? You're not going to see that kind of traffic again for a lot of years, are you? So
not down here. I mean, we've mentioned it a lot of times on the show, but to have those aircraft down here at our small airport of Newquay, once in a lifetime, unless they do end up coming back again and they enjoyed it that much that they choose Cornwall to be a host again. But like, just phenomenal to see 747s sort of operating out of Newquay, sort of even now. And so it's definitely a treasured memory. And I remember waking up that morning thinking, do I go to Heathrow to catch it, or do I go to Newquay and get everything else? And going to Newquay was probably the best decision, despite obviously burning more than my fish fingers did yesterday. So it was. Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of those sort of things where that will stick with you forever.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like even just getting the picture of Air Force One landing at Newquay is just so much more special than at Heathrow, because it's just so much more rare. Sounds like an amazing experience for you guys.
definitely. Do you sort of have any other sort of memories that sort of stick with you when it comes to spotting locations and sort of particular aircraft that you've seen?
Yeah, I remember when Air Force One was coming to Heathrow, and at the same time there was Cathay Pacific 747 landing, and I'm absolutely in love with Cathay Pacific liveries. I absolutely adore this plane, and the plane in Cathay Pacific livery, but especially 747. So I was like, I told my boyfriend I need to catch both Air Force One and Cathay Pacific 747, and they both were landing with I think 5 minutes between each other, and they were landing on different runways. So we basically had to take our gear and basically the backpack we had and food and drinks and just run from one side of the airport to the other side to catch Cathay Pacific. And then my boyfriend was like, okay, you have 5 seconds to take the photo, and then we ran back to catch our fourth one. And it was so hot. It was like 30 degrees or something. And we were absolutely sweating. And my camera battery decided to die, so I had to switch it at the last moment when the Cathay Pacific was just coming in. It was just so much. But yeah, I managed to catch Cathay Pacific and Air Force One at the same time. But we just didn't know which side they're gonna land on to the last moment. It was it was just so a lot of going on at one moment. But it was just so memorable.
You did well. It's a deceptively long way from one runway to the other at Heathrow.
Yes.
A couple of times I've walked around.
Yeah, we were running, and my boyfriend also decided to switch the sides of the road. I was like, no, it's too late now. We have to take Cathay Pacific. I was like, no, but it's gonna be closer from that side. I was like, no, and we have to run.
Yeah, sort of running past, ignoring all the BA stuff, and the hang of it's up really close around that corner as well. Must have been difficult.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Yeah. Oh god.
Fantastic.
So many good memories.
Yeah, so obviously, like I say, you have your memories and things like that of spotting locations and that. If we go sort of away from Heathrow, sort of what other sort of places have you sort of been to, even recently, if that?
Very recently, we went to Krakow, here next to Woking. Where's my new place of residence? And I was actually thinking that all the business jets that are flying over Woking are going to Ferox. I was like, I'm gonna go to Ferox to spot all the business jets. And then we came to Ferox, and turned out they only have a few small Pipers and a Cessna flying. So there were no business jets in sight, and it turned out that the business jet airport is a little bit further away. So I went to Ferox, I took some photos of Cessna and small planes, and they have a really nice cafe where you can just sit and watch planes right in front of you, even though but there was some business Piper getting ready to take off, and it was really nice to see. But yeah, so I spotted a few Pipers and a few small Cessnas. In Ferox recently, and before that it was Stansted, and in Stansted I caught my first MD-11 and the Cargilux Boeing 747, which was a big thing for me as well. And there were quite a few planes actually landing at Stansted at that time, because I remember when I was going back first, the beginning of quarantine, and there was one plane landing, and in the next hour there was one plane taking off, and you had to wait another hour for another plane to land. And that plane was cancelled, and then you're stuck there for 3 hours, and there was nothing flying. So it was much more busy lately.
Yeah, those little airfields. I know Tom went to one recently, but just for a day to go and see stuff that you wouldn't usually see and be able to sit outside and be up that close to them, it's a really good experience. I really enjoy going to our local airfield for that very reason, and seeing some of the more vintage stuff that you wouldn't usually get to see. And I'm sure Tom would agree after his trip the other day.
I love an airfield. Yeah, I think you can get a bit more intimate with sort of the smaller planes and stuff, because because it's so much more. I don't know. I think it's just, these aren't full-time pilots. These are people that have a full-time job that go flying at weekends, or any sort of spare moment that they get. And some of the history and stuff behind the actual planes themselves are quite fascinating. So just a quick story on mine. There's in the video that I uploaded on my channel recently, from last weekend's visit, to Bodmin Airfield, there was a Piper J3 Cub, which came in, and it's in US Air Force markings, and so I thought nothing of it. I thought, I've seen like plenty of planes like this before, and I spoke to the chap who sort of flies it, and he told me that that plane actually saw service in World War II, so it's an original.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's those stories themselves that capture sort of the imagination when it comes to airfields and stuff. Like, yes, you can go to an airport and see like Concorde, and like if you're at Heathrow, you see Concorde sat there, and you think about the history and 747s and things like that. But I think a bit more kind of like wartime kind of memories for these people that own these planes. Like these planes that are built in the 1940s and are still flying. Was it nearly 80 odd years later? Is absolutely amazing. So yeah, love an airfield.
I think part of the beauty of an airfield, if you go to Heathrow or wherever, everything that comes in is instantly identifiable. You know exactly what it is. But going to an airfield, it becomes an education, because whilst the knowledge of aircraft is pretty good, I'm still learning when it comes to sort of the vintage stuff at airfields like that. So it's a bit of an education as well as being a lot closer to them when you go sort of those places.
Absolutely. Like I'm nowhere near clued up on my sort of light aircraft or things like that. But honestly, it's just wonderful to kind of be able to get so close, like I did last week, especially to like Tiger Moths and things like that. Like these aircraft have history behind them. So yeah, like if you said to me, we'll go spend the day at a local airfield, I'd be like, yeah, okay, that's absolutely fine. I'm more than up for that, because just there's something a bit more, I don't want to put this correctly, almost like a bit more sort of romantic about it, because like I say, you are quite sort of intimate with the fact that you can get quite close to these planes.
Yeah, just sort of back to Julia briefly on the Stansted. It's not somewhere I've ever spotted before, is it? Is it good? Like the view's decent and sort of the variation? I know there's a lot of cargo goes in there.
I don't think it's just as easy to view there, to be honest. You just need something to elevate, because otherwise you're gonna get the fence in the camera, or you have to put the camera through the fence, and then it's not as easy to take pictures there as in Heathrow, and also the variation is not as good, and there's also not as many planes flying. But I hold it close to my heart because of Krakow 11.
Yeah, of course. Was that the FedEx, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it does sound good.
And thinking about the small airfields, in Warsaw, where I grew up, in my primary school. My primary school was quite close to the local airfield, and I always remember seeing the small planes flying over the school, and it was the best memory ever. And later I went to start a pilot training there in the airfield, and I absolutely adore airfield feeling as well. It just has a special atmosphere. It just feels like home. And during the breaks of our theory PPL classes, we would always go out and just watch planes take off and land. And I remember all of the whole group of us, of the students, we would talk and chat. But when the plane would take off or land, we would all just stare immediately at the plane and just follow the plane with our eyes. And it was a very special feeling to just see the Cessnas taking off. And we have that very famous small training airplane in Poland. It's called 83. And it's just as popular, I think, as the Cessna in Poland. So there were two of them flying again and again, and it was just amazing. So I absolutely adore airfields. And also about airfields, I think one of the best airfields to go to around Hearts or England in general is North Wales, because you get everything there, all the types of planes and also helicopters. And last time I went there, I caught a Spitfire that was being taken up.
Oh, wow. It's not somewhere I've been. Tom, have you ever been there?
No, I haven't actually.
Definitely recommend it. And they also have a lovely cafe with the view of planes. It's just the best everything you could ever use.
It's a selling point for me. I'll take it.
Oh, yeah. So you said just then that you did a few sort of lessons, sort of taster flights. Is it something you've sort of carried on pursuing to maybe get a private license?
I want to, yeah. it got. I mean, I got stuck in the middle when I was doing, because it was at the same time of my high school exams, and I don't know. I think I just sort of walked away from it for a little bit. I finished my theory classes and I got my theory exams done in Warsaw. But then when I started the practical flights, I just got a few hours, and I don't know, for some reason I stopped, and I still want to pick it up. It just, I don't know how it's going to go, but I really want to get my private pilot license at some point. It just seems there's so many things going on right now.
Yeah, it sounds like that local airfield that you went to might be sort of the place to go. There might be a flying club or something that can sort of put you in the right direction.
Yeah, I looked at it, and when you go to the cafe there, you have a view on the training room. And I was just like, I was looking at it, I was like, I just really wish I was part of this flight club. That I really want to learn to fly there, because it's quite close to the place where I live, and it's also convenient. It looks beautiful, and there's planes. Like, what else can I want?
Yeah, it does sound good. I think, I don't know if you've been there, Farnborough's not a million miles away from you, is it? I know a lot of corporate jets go into there.
Yeah, it's this one I saw that the business jets go to.
Yeah.
I really want to go there.
Yeah, it's not one I've been to yet.
No. I mean, you mentioned, obviously, Warsaw, where you grew up and stuff. I imagine sort of growing up there, you would have seen some very interesting planes that we would not have seen.
I think it's most about airlines, with the biggest airline being obviously Lot Polish Airlines, which is flying everywhere in Poland. We fly a lot of Dash 8s in Poland, so that's the plane I was a lot on. I also know that I think which airline here in the UK flew the Dash 8s before they retired?
Flybe had a lot of them.
Yeah, Lot Regional flew a lot of Dash 8s, so this is one of the, I think, most popular planes in Polish regional flights. And also, when it comes to training planes, it's 83, as well as a lot of Antonovs. There's still quite a few Antonovs flying for a training, so you can train on an Antonov 2, for example, to get your private pilot license, which sounds like a dream. We have also old Vilgas that fly for some training flights, and old Zlins. And when it comes to airliners, it's mostly the same things, the same planes that you see here. There's lots of Boeings. A lot of Polish airlines have mostly all now Boeings, as well as Boeing Max. So that's basically the same. I had the best view on Polish airplanes, because on the way to high school, I would drive right next to airport, and the planes would take off right over my car with my parents. And every day we would just go there, and the planes would take off. And I was like wondering where they go now while I go to high school. And I have to learn. Meanwhile, someone can just fly over to New York or somewhere else. I was like always imagining, what if I was a pilot there and just flying somewhere? But I don't think there's many different airliners in Poland right now. We had Tupolevs a while ago, but it was many years ago, and now it's just mostly the same ones that you can see in other airports.
Yeah, LOT currently has my record of the only Max I've seen, actually, as it came into Heathrow back in April, so that's its sort of USP for me at the moment.
Yeah, we have lots of we had Dreamliners. I remember LOT got Dreamliners and they broke down immediately. And then there was a lot of talking about this, that, we got those big Dreamliners, we waited for them, and now they broke down and we can't fly the Dreamliners, so it took a while, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's not what you need when you've spent all that money on sort of updating your fleet, and that happens, that's for sure.
Yeah, but also the same with when we got Polish trains and we got extra fast trains, like the European extra fast trains, and turned out that our tracks were not good enough for the trains, so we couldn't run trains in the full speed because of the tracks, and then they had to either rebuild the tracks or basically drive the trains in the normal speed of any other train. So it just didn't make sense at all.
Have LOT addressed the issues with their Dreamliners now then?
Yeah. Yeah, the Dreamliners now are fine, but they fly only, I think, Boeing 737 Max now to the UK.
Yeah, no, of
To
course.
to Krakow, apart from city.
They send the E190, don't they, into London City, I believe, or something similar.
Yeah, I got lucky to fly on it to London City. It was absolutely amazing. The whole view when you land in London City Airport is just
fantastic. So if we sort of shy away from sort of the interesting aircraft is kind of to grow up in an area where, you know, Tupolevs and Ilyushins and things like that were kind of prominent stuff, whereas over here we didn't really get to see as much of them. Did you go to any air shows while you were sort of growing up over in Poland, or was it sort of once you sort of came here that was when sort of the air show bug sort of hit?
Yeah, the air show bug was mostly here in the UK. I arrived and I met my boyfriend through aviation interests, and then he started introducing me to air show magic. And he started taking me to Shutterwolf Air Show. Then we went to Daxford to see the museum, and then Shutterwolf Museum, and then Shutterwolf Air Show again, and the Shutterwolf Air Show again, and that's when I caught the air show bug. So I think I always wanted to go to the air show when I was younger and growing up, but I don't think there was ever like an occasion where I could actually go with my parents, just say, let's go to the air show. There's always something going on then. And now I was actually had someone with me that was as interested in planes and air show as I was. So we were both just going to Shutterwolf air shows a lot.
Do you? I was going to say, do you have a favorite air show at all?
Basically an air show.
Just any of them.
We went to the last air show I went to, and they had Global Stars formation, which actually made me cry. I was so moved at the end of because at the end of the formation show, the Global Stars do like a heart, and it's just so beautiful. I started crying. So that was amazing air show. And they also got some Edwardians out, and they got to fly. I think the last one broke down a little bit at the end, but we got to see, I think, 2 or 3 Edwardians take off and land. It was amazing, because on all the previous air shows, they always said that the weather is quite good, so they might fly. But at the end, it was too windy, so they didn't fly. And this time we got to see Edwardians, and I got to see Global Stars, and also my first time Red Arrows were flying by. And even though they didn't do the whole display, I still saw Red Arrows for the first time of my life. So that was very memorable.
Yeah, even at 38 years old, I don't, or have never got bored of the Red Arrows. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I can't wait to see their whole display. It must be amazing.
Yeah, no, it was so clever, and again, it doesn't bring me to tears quite like yourself, but it does make you feel a bit emotional, especially the first time seeing him back after sort of what we've been through. To see him come back into Bournemouth was absolutely amazing. Start of June they came back in. It was really, really incredible.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Global Stars?
I can't think I have. Not knowingly. Have you, Tom?
Can't think off the top of my head if I have or not.
They have a really nice display, so if you ever get the chance to see them in an air show, I recommend.
Just having a look at them now.
I don't think they're quite as popular as the Blades, Red Arrows.
Oh, this is like one. Do you know what? I've heard of them. I haven't seen them. These are like more of the sort of more obscure kind of ones. Obviously, they did get left in the shadows of the Blades and the Red Arrows and that.
Yeah, I think they fly the same aircraft type as the Blades. But it was just absolutely amazing. Maybe because that was my first formation I saw. First aerobatics team I saw.
Yeah, do you know, I've potentially seen them at Bournemouth a few years ago, but I certainly haven't seen them recently. So what else do you get at Shuttleworth?
Well, there's Comet, and also Lizzie was flying, and there was about to be flying Thunderbolt. It didn't, which I was really sad about, but they put Bushon instead of Thunderbolt, so I couldn't really complain. and Busan had that special film markings for the film that it was shooting for. So it was quite exciting. And they also had the Spitfire formation with Hurricanes. The Tiger Moth formation as well. Quite a few moths flying around. There was a Catalina as well. They brought Catalina from Duxford, I think. So that was really nice. And the Catalina pilot was really sweet as well. I saw him talking with everyone, basically standing by his plane, and it was really sweet to see.
Yeah, it does sound good. I'll have to get up there next year, perhaps, when it's on.
Oh yeah, definitely. I like how they have themed air shows. So they had like a film-themed air show and like a spy aircraft-themed air show, and they have lots of different themed air shows. So that's really exciting to see.
That does sound good. What sort of other ones have you been to again? Sorry, apart from Shuttleworth.
They were the only I think I've seen. I was about to go to Duxford Air Show as well, but I've just been to Duxford Museum a few times, and yeah.
Oh yeah, it's incredible, isn't it, Duxford Museum?
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I have a really nice memory in Duxford, because my favorite aircraft is the Dakota, and my boyfriend knew that, and he asked me to be his girlfriend under the Dakota in Duxford, where we went there for the first time. So it has a very special place in my heart.
He picked his moment well then.
Yes, he did. But it's beautiful. But I think Shuttleworth has like more feeling. Like I like the gardens in the Shuttleworth.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with museums, isn't it? It's amazing to see everything, but it's obviously just in a hall, whereas you go to these air shows, you actually get to see these old aircraft fly, and it makes it slightly different and more special.
Yeah, and you can walk alongside them before the air show, and all the people coming with like old aviation books to sell, and you can just get to talk with people passionate about aviation as well.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. What do they do? Like a Newquay air show down your way, Tom, or Manchester sort of air show? Well, Blackpool, I know we got the Reds and that.
So before, I think they stopped doing it now, which was the Coldrose air show. I believe the funding for that stopped, so that doesn't happen anymore. So really, the closest to me that I've not actually been to is things like the Torbay air show, and things like that. But ones that I go to are like Yeovilton. I think if you've never been to a Yeovilton air show before, that is 100% worth going to, because they always put on a really, really good show. I think it was the year that I moved down, or was it before or after that? Maybe I'll go with that. Someone will correct me, but it was before I even knew that that air show existed. They had an Antonov 124 display at Yeovilton.
Nice!
And I believe it was like one of the sort of rare UK air displays of an Antonov 124. Yeovilton have had so much. They've had like South African 747-400s display there. Obviously the Vulcan and things like that. Well worth going. But yeah, sort of closest to me is Torbay, and never actually been, because I think I'm more of I want to see the planes take off and land sort of person when it comes to air shows. So I don't want to see them coming in from elsewhere and then going off elsewhere. Like I want to be able to have like the full experience sort of thing.
Yeah, that's it. I can only talk really for Bournemouth, but it's pretty good at Bournemouth if you ever get a chance next year, maybe, Julia, to come down and watch the Bournemouth air show.
Yeah, I'm going next weekend to Spot, and I really want to see the air show.
Oh, at Bournemouth?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. There's a museum down there as well, which is well worth a visit.
It's interesting.
A couple of hours to go around there, and there's sort of Vulcans and the bits like that.
Yeah, I always have a couple of hours to walk around the Aviation Museum. I should note it down.
Oh yeah, it should be. You'll be good for some Ryanair, hopefully some A340s, and possibly some EasyJets, depending on how long you sort of stay down there for.
Oh, I really want to see the A340. It's my favorite type of work.
Yeah. If you've got flight radar, they've started appearing on the apps now, so it makes your life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Know when they're coming and going.
Yeah, I have it, so I'm gonna keep an eye on it.
Yeah, no, they're phenomenal. I went down today as it happens and saw one leave, and we've had over 2 years of them yet, and I'm not in the slightest bit bored of them at all yet. I think Tom was sort of thinking about coming down, weren't you, at some point to see him?
To Bournemouth, yeah, 100%. That's sort of on my list. I will kind of want to make a weekend of it, just to kind of go down there, spend a couple of days at the airport, grab a couple of 340s, and then at least I can say my work here is done, sort of thing. So that would be like the primary goal, basically, is to get those 340s.
Yeah, completed. Like Bournemouth's completed once you've got those.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Bournemouth
left here for you.
completed it, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
What we'll do, we'll just hand it over to Ian. There's a couple of unread comments there, so we'll get those read out.
Let me see where we're up to. I've had a few connection problems, to be quite honest, so I'm sort of catching up with myself a little bit. Rob Brown was going back to the Falcons, what Steve ran about earlier. They were leaving for Prestwick, joining the Exercise Joint Warrior, and they are formerly the Cobham Falcons, which I've seen a few times fly out of Wharton on. I think they were doing weapons training with some Typhoons and things out in Irish Sea quite a while ago. Nice. It's a nice spot. Seeing them, and he was also saying that YouTube's been playing up today. He's watched a couple of streams. It's been a bit iffy at times, which I can't disagree with. Grey Blue, good evening, everybody. So good evening to you, Grey Blue, as well.
Evening.
Hello.
And the Departure Lounge is still. Stay tuned till the end of the show, and he's going to make 2 announcements. So I'll certainly hang on till end.
Should hope so. You're part of the team.
Those Falcons, the Cobhams, they're now called the Drakens.
Drakens, yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
They're 50 years old, those planes, but you wouldn't have thought it. They
Still
must have been
stunning,
Don't get told, do they?
So cutting edge at the time.
Yeah, I think it's more the equipment what's inside them more than anything else, because they're used for training and things like that, aren't they? So I'm sure they've got the manoeuvrability, the speed, and all the equipment on board as well. They're big enough to hold all the equipment, aren't they, and things like that. So it's probably why they're still using, to be honest.
They don't have to make a noise.
Yeah, the cracking planes, aren't they?
Proper old school. Have you got the comment there for Rob Brown, Ian?
I'm just reading that one. Yeah. So
Okay.
this one's aimed at you, Julia, and he's asking, do you like challenging type pics such as fast jets or nighttime pictures? So do you challenge yourself a little bit more in your photography rather than taking a Boeing coming into land or something? Do you try and get fighter jets, for instance, and things at night time and things like that?
Do the nighttime. I mean, I don't have a car, so it's difficult for me. I was far away from any airport by then, so I was basically dependent on my boyfriend to drive with me on the weekends to actually see something. Yeah. But now that I'm living much closer to, basically to an airport, I definitely wanted to try something new, because I just don't want to get to the point and get stuck on taking the same type of pictures every time and from the same angles and the same weather conditions. And I really want to try different weather conditions and different basic type of shots, as well as different aircraft. And it's still difficult to catch for me to catch a faster airplane than even a business jet or a fast jet or anything. So I really want to practice on that. And I definitely want to do some military aviation spotting. That would be a dream to go to the military airport. Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for somewhere to go, if you go somewhere, I mean, you could have a weekend in Lincolnshire, couldn't you? And you could do the air bases around Lincolnshire, because there's plenty there to go at, isn't there?
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's definitely. You see plenty of aviation streams on YouTube and things like that with Lake and Heath and places like that, and there's always plenty of fast jet action going on there. In Conisbee, I think, is another one, isn't it, up that way? So you definitely get some challenging pictures there, definitely. And is photography something you've got a genuine interest in, or is it just because you really like airplanes? So I bought myself a nice camera to take nice pictures. And do you genuinely enjoy photography anyway?
I think I always took photos, just not with like a fancy camera, but just with my phone or like a small camera that I had when I was a little girl.
Yeah.
And just the planes now made my interest in photography even more, because now I just notice different things about taking photos. That it's not just a plane in a photo, but just different perspectives and different angles and different shots and different the composition and everything. Just makes me think more about the photography. So I think it's definitely more than just a airplane taking photos for me.
Yeah, so you're learning more about the equipment, what you're using. So you're learning more about the different conditions and things on your camera to use as well, aren't you?
Yeah. Having this camera taught me a lot about different settings and everything. I never thought that there's so many settings, so many things you have to think of to take a photo to look like, like a really nice photo. So
me and Steve had a conversation only the other week about it, didn't we, Steve? About light filtering and God knows what else, and ISO and everything, and in the end, I just switched my camera back over to automatic because it was easier.
It is worth taking the time, but I'm sure Julia would testify. You're going to get stuff wrong, and my rule generally is, if it's something new that I haven't seen before, I'm desperate for it, I will go manual to make sure it's a reasonable photo. But if it's something like an A320 at Heathrow or a 19, that's your chance to play with the settings and sort of have a fiddle around. If you mess it up, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, and Rob's asking, what type of camera do you use?
I have a Canon EOS 1100D.
So it's a nice camera then, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I really like it. And I was really lucky with the lens, because I got the lens with image stabilization, and I got it second hand. But it's a really nice one. I think it's 70-300, and it was I'm really, really happy with this Canon lens, especially.
Image stabilization makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
It is an absolute godsend if you can get that.
Yeah, I don't know how I found it. I think it was just one on eBay available for like £100, and I used a really good lens, and I was like, yes, I'm taking it.
Yeah, you do get lucky sometimes, don't you?
Yeah.
The old image stabilization saved me a few times, that's for sure.
Yeah, but this camera is really nice, so I recommend it to basically anyone, to be honest. I mean, especially if it's someone's first camera, like a first DSLR camera, it's also really good to just learn different settings and how everything works in it.
Yeah, just going back to your Instagram, you say about the different angles and that. You do have a very good style. Like, it's not always the same photos, and you've got sort of engine close-ups, the sort of front ends of the planes with the wings and full planes and that. So it is good that you've got the variation, and they're always good photos. So you're doing well with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to experiment a little bit more, but definitely if I start taking night shots and like fast jets and everything, then it's just gonna be even better.
Yeah, no, I've tried slow shutter speeds at night. So when you first sort of see the aircraft in the distance, I'll do like a sort of up to 3-minute exposure, and then you get the landing lights and the tail lights coming down as a stream to land, and that looks quite cool. But it took me forever to nail that. The amount of times I got that wrong was unbelievable.
Yeah, it takes a lot.
Just take time to learn the skills, isn't it?
Yeah, some would say I'm still getting it wrong, but you need to get stuff wrong to learn, unfortunately.
I think it's like, you always learn. There's never a point when you can't discover yet another thing about photography.
Yeah, absolutely. And with planes, like Ian was saying, you can't just say this is the setting, because the clouds are different, the light's different.
Yeah, there's never the same.
There's so many different variables.
Yeah.
But you do mainly video, don't you, Tom, rather than still photos?
Mainly video now. I've got a ton of like old photos, which I am posting on Instagram as often as I can. But yeah, now it's just a case of videoing, because I think it's nice to kind of have that memory of, it's all nice to kind of get the picture, but if you can see it in action, and like 10, 15 years down the line, if you've got like a 747 and you think, gosh, what was it like to sort of see them again? And you've got that footage then to look back on. So that's kind of, and it also helps with like the YouTube thing of just to, pump out as much videos as you can and things like that, and try and make them as interesting as possible. Hence the variety of obviously doing the Cornwall strut fly-in last weekend. So yeah, that's the best thing about it, really, is it gives you more opportunities, I think, to do different things with video camera. But only because I got rid of my actual digital camera in order to get the video camera. So yeah,
I think
videos are really good for Instagram as well, to mix up.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's it.
You use your pictures that you take with your camera for Instagram, don't you, Steve?
I all my stuff usually stills. Sort of, I've filmed a couple of 340s going out, but I do mainly just do still photos for Instagram.
Yeah. And you're the same as well, aren't you, Ian? You post stuff that you use your your camera when you go out and take pictures and stuff. You post those on Instagram, didn't you?
Yeah. I mean, my camera's nothing on scale of what Julia's using or what Steve's using, but it's adequate for the photographs what I take, to be fair. And I would like to move into a bigger camera, and it's something I'm currently looking into. But I mean, I do enjoy, like you say, you've got a visual record of everything what you've been looking at, haven't you? And you can, and I still do it now, Tom. And I scroll back, going back a few years ago, and you see these really sketchy pictures what you took in rain and things like that. But they do bring back memories, and they're great to look at.
I think one of the real challenges is, and I don't know if Julia's tried to do it, is trying to get prop blur but also get the aircraft sharp. It's really, really difficult to sort of master that skill. Is it something you've tried yet?
So I think I have. I don't know. I know I tried to blur a little bit, and but just so difficult.
Yeah, no, it really is to get like a propeller blurred, but
exactly.
The aircraft sharp is such a difficult skill.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That one, yeah.
It's kind of the thing with like, if like video side of things. I think there's been a couple of instances where if I upload the video at like 60 frames a second, any sort of like prop or helicopter sort of thing is very different. It's not quite still, so it looks like there's no propeller spinning round, but it just creates a different visual for sort of that type of conversation. I noticed it in the video that I uploaded when a couple of them are like taxiing by and stuff, and it just looks like that the aircraft's got really sort of crooked propellers, and it's a very weird visual to sort of see.
Oh, yeah, I did it at Bournemouth last week when the air show was on, and kept a fast shutter speed because I was happy with the settings, but everything just looks like it's dangling on a bit of string, like a Chinook with just 6 stationary blades or whatever. It just looks a bit daft, but it was just sort of through laziness that I found the sweet spot for jets. But like I say, you will get stuff wrong, but it's sort of part of learning, isn't it, and what have you.
Still have my first photo that I ever took with a camera that I had before this one that I have, because at first I got just a compact camera. I think I got a Kodak Pixel, and I was trying. It's not really made for aviation photography, and I was trying to take a photo of a plane approaching Heathrow, and I have there's a light pole or something right across the plane, and the plane is all dizzy, and basically there's a tree in the way, and it's absolutely everything wrong with this photo. But I absolutely adore this photo because it's just the first photo I took, so I hold it very dear to my heart.
Just like that.
Oh yeah, I tend to delete them instantly, and then when anyone looks at them, they go, "Oh, your photos are absolutely spot on," but it's all a big fat lie. If truth be told, they've all been cropped and changed. You never see an original photo of mine.
It's sometimes nice to compare like the original photo or the first photo that you took to like the photo that you took a year later, and just see the whole progress and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I look back at my original Instagram post, I wouldn't dream of posting some of that now, but it was content that was sort of good to go and sort of kept the content going, but some of them are like shockingly bad. Like an old Motorola flip phone kind of standard.
That's totally what I'm thinking about mine when I look back on my Instagram.
Brilliant. We'll hand it over to Ian just with another question from Rob Brown.
Okay. Do you edit your pictures using Lightroom or a similar, type of app before you upload them? Do you do a lot of editing on your pictures?
I used to use Lightroom for a few months, I think. I know first I had the Kodak camera, and I would basically probably just switch some things on Instagram up on editing. Well, the one that you just get like crop and like, I don't know, sharpen up something, and I would post that. And then I got the Lightroom, and I would use Lightroom quite a lot. But then my laptop started breaking down, and Lightroom didn't want to work because my laptop decided that Lightroom just is too much for my laptop to take. So I had to delete the Lightroom, and now I'm back to basically editing on Instagram the way I posted. But I would really love to get back to Lightroom because I think it's quite a nice editing app, as well as Photoshop.
Right. What about you, Steve? Do you use a similar kind of thing?
I do have Lightroom, and the benefit of using it is you don't lose any picture quality. Whereas when you put it on Instagram, you lose picture quality. But I'll be honest, a lot of my photos now I put on Instagram, and I'm only really playing a little bit of the shadows and maybe a tiny bit of saturation if they're a little bit overexposed. But apart from that, I don't do a huge amount to them. But it's just shadows to get rid of sort of the dark belly of it, and just to make it a little bit more vibrant. That's sort of what I'm doing with them.
Yeah. I think you can play with them a bit too much, like you say, and then you can Photoshop it if you want, and you end up with like a really grainy looking sketchy picture, don't you, if you're not careful?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes just the original ones are the best, and once you start editing, you just keep going, and then just doesn't look like a plane anymore.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, it's like, you can sort of cook a dinner and put a tiny bit of pepper in, and then you can definitely over pepper it and ruin it. That's for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I know I've had them where it looks like someone sprayed the grass green and things like that. The grass is just too green and things. The plane looks fine, but the background looks ridiculous.
Yeah, that's another thing to keep an eye on, because sometimes if you put some editing options on it and you see the plane is alright, but the background looks awful. So.
Yeah, so there's a fine line in between getting it right, and I think sometimes you can be over fussy as well. I mean, I know some of Steve's shots he's took where they've been unedited, it absolutely perfectly fine. But if he's not happy with them, then he'll tamper with them. But you can sort of criticize yourself a little bit too much, don't you think? You can,
Yeah, I'm sure Julia will agree. If you get Myrtle Avenue on a sunny day, where the sun's right behind you, you don't have to touch your photos because they're so well lit and everything is as it should be. But it's cloudy days, or if you've got intermittent sun, is when you've got to start sort of tinkering with them a little bit, just to bring the plane out of the grey sky. Yeah, no, exactly that.
I definitely don't think that plane photos actually need editing, because the planes are the planes, and the planes are the best. And but I just think that everyone just to make their plane photos the way they want, like whether editing or not, it's just up to photographer, up to plane spotter to choose.
Yeah, well, I would say anyone who is watching this or listening back, and they either got Instagram or haven't got Instagram but thinking about getting it, there's no such thing as a bad photo. The only person who has to like it is you.
Yeah, that's
it doesn't
what
matter
I'm thinking too.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if the whole world likes it. As long as you're proud of it, then it really doesn't matter what anyone else thinks.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, also whether you spot from the phone or from a camera or from, I don't know, but it just doesn't matter, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's it. Not everyone's fortunate enough to have the means to buy good gear, so everything's sort of on its merit, really. When you see photos, everyone's sort of trying their best, and they're obviously proud enough to put it out there, so it's not for me to criticise someone, that's for sure.
I'd say just a quick one on the old editing software and stuff. When I used to do my pictures and stuff, I used to use a program with a computer called Photoscape.
It's not one I know of.
Yeah, Photoscape is, for me, it was really, really good to use. So you can, like I say, it doesn't lose your picture quality, but the way that you can enhance it is almost like you've taken it with a £3,000 camera.
Oh, nice.
So it is pretty good, and I used it when I was uploading photos to places like Jet Photos and planespotters.net and things like that. Were all done through editing on Photoscape, and highly recommend it to anybody that edits. If anyone that thinks that Photoshop is too there's too much to Photoshop, Photoscape is so much more simplified and a lot more kind of easier to use because it's all just there for you. So you haven't got to mask it, do this, do that, and everything else. If you want to sharpen it, you just sharpen it and do what you need to, basically. And it's a really, really good program. So definitely recommend it to anybody that is looking for an editing software.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. I'll definitely to check that out at some point. Just to, even if it's just to sort of have a play around with it and what have you.
Definitely.
But
go on.
You do occasionally get sort of days when you go to Heathrow and just everything you take is spot on, the light's right.
Yeah.
Everything is just absolutely perfect. And then you'll go next day and it won't be anywhere near it, and you haven't sort of changed or done anything. It's just sort of the luck of the draw almost at Heathrow.
Yeah, definitely.
A late afternoon at Heathrow on a sunny day, when the sun is basically nose on with the plane, so it lights up the insides of the engines. That's perfect light.
Correct, isn't it?
Yeah, the golden hour, isn't it? Is that what they call it?
I believe, yeah. I believe it's something like the golden hour or something like that. But absolutely fantastic light if you want to get some really good photos. Yeah,
no, that does sound good. I'll have to maybe go up on a sort of a nice, clear, crisp, autumny or wintry day and sort of see if I can get a few of those.
They also from Heathrow spotting is when the weather is not that nice, but they're landing in the right way, so you can catch them from Heathrow Academy parking. And then you have the view on the tower, and it's just such a perfect angle with the plane taking off right over the Heathrow Tower. It's just so beautiful. So that can make the photo quite special.
Yeah. Do you ever get sort of the vapor ribbons off them as well when it's wet when you're around that side?
I think so.
Yeah, it always sort of enhances a photo if you manage to get some vapor coming off the end of the wings or whatever.
Yeah, and it blurs the back of the. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Over to Ian with the last comment.
Rob again is saying to all. He says, "Do you find plane spotters always put .NET upload process overly fussy?" So do you find plane spotters All right.
The website, basically.
Do you find, I misread the question, sorry. So do you find that planespotters.net, the upload process is overly fussy? So have you tried doing that yourself, Julia? Have you tried uploading to places like planespotters.net and things like that?
Yeah, I tried it once, I think, and it was a photo of BA Dreamliner. I was so proud of this photo. I think I didn't edit it even too much. It was just like, I don't know, maybe some contrast, some shadows, and that was all. And it was just perfect view of, from like a face-to-face shot of a Dreamliner. Yeah, and I waited, I think, 5 days to get the review of that, and it was told that it's too edited. And I was like, no. But yeah,
they're bizarre, aren't they? I think you've had the same kind of problem, Tom, haven't you?
Oh, like I could literally spend an entire podcast talking about how ridiculously fussy these places are. So I think the worst one for it is airliners.net. They will literally sort of almost go over it with a fine comb. And I think I uploaded I can't remember which photo it was, but I think I uploaded a photo before, and I made sure it was clean, and I made sure there was absolutely, it was absolutely fine. Like it was sharp, and it was everything it required. Only for them to turn around and go, "Oh, there's a bit of a dust spot on there, so we can't really upload it." And I'm like, "Well, you want to point out where this is then, because I can't see a dust spot." And bearing in mind, I literally had my camera cleaned like the day before, and then I'm like taking the photos, and then like 5 days later, or 3-4 days later, they're like, "Yeah, sorry about that. We can't do that." And I'm like, "Why? Why can't you do it?" And then the worst one for me is when they tell you about overexposure, and you've done nothing to the photo except make it a little bit sharp. Overexposed. Well, I'm sorry. Do you want me to tell the man upstairs to turn the lights off or something, or what? Like, what more do you want? Like, I don't know. It's daft. But even then, if you edit it and then you make it darker, and it's like, okay, now it's not so overexposed and everything. They go, contrast is a bit much, and I'm like, sod off. I'll just put it on somewhere where I don't need to upload it.
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Jet photos on Flight Radar 24, I've never had luck with, but Plane Finder, I've got a lot of my photos on Plane Finder, but I don't think they're overly fussy, to be quite honest.
That's how it should be. They should be not so fussy, and it should be like, you should be able to just do what you need to, upload the photo if you're happy with it. 'Cause at the end of the day, you're not going to get like hundreds of people looking at it going, "Oh, I don't know, there's a bit of a dust spot, right in that corner there that nobody looks at."
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I personally only ever use planespotters.net is if I've got a photograph of a plane and I want some history on it, and then I'll go on a website like that and I'll find out its history. And I don't spend hours trolling through how good people's photographs are or anything like that. I just don't see the point of it. I think, like you were saying before, if you're proud of that picture and then you think it's a good picture, I'm damn sure that the masses who look at that picture are going to think the same, aren't they?
It's no different to uploading it to a website like I used to do it, because I gave up in the end. And I looked for an alternative and things like that. And I uploaded my photos to a place called DeviantArt, which is like a photography website, but like a proper photography for anything, like nature, portraits, etc. And there was a load of people that were uploading like plane photos. So I was like, I'll set an account up and I'll do it that way. And the amount of like positive feedback you get from people, that even if it's pictures that you've not edited, you're just putting them on there because it's fantastic. You don't resize it, you don't sharpen it, you don't put your thing down, but people are so complimentary about it, and they're like, "Oh, that's a great shot," etc. And people are just friendly, and then you can sort of make friends through that way. I mean, we're talking like 10-12 years ago now, so I don't do that sort of thing, but my profile is still there. But I go through some of the photos and stuff, and you just see all the positive sort of vibes that you get off of people because they're so nice about it. That was my place to upload them, was literally there, and now I've got them to kind of go back on and sort of have a look at. But yeah, honest to God, like I don't know what they're like now, but I imagine they are super fussy now. Like if you've coughed on your computer screen by accident, I'm sure they'll pick that up and go, "Yeah, not for us, thanks."
But I would say if there's ever a photo you take or that you have that you're super proud of, Plane Finder the app is the place to go to get it published, because I've had quite a few published on there. I think they've only ever knocked one back that I posted. So if you have got one, that's the place to go for it.
Yeah.
And it is pretty cool when something comes into Bournemouth and you've clicked on it and it's your photo. It is pretty cool to see.
It's a sense of pride, isn't it? So
yeah,
absolutely, I bet.
Fantastic. Okay, lastly then, Julia, what's next for you? You got any spotting trips planned or?
First Bournemouth next weekend. So really excited about it.
Oh yes.
And yeah, and then I want to go again to Heathrow, and maybe visit Staxford as well, and hopefully going up to Lincolnshire.
Lincolnshire.
Up north.
Yeah, it's already planned. Like, since you said about this, I'm already noting it down. I have to go there.
Wonderful.
Your Bournemouth trip next week. If you want any advice or whatever of where to spot and where to go, or whatever, just drop me a message during the week, and I'll give you some of the better places to go and see the stuff.
I would absolutely love that, because so far as I know, there's that place next to like the departure, and there's some small area to just sit down in front of the fence. But I just want to take a photo like face to face with planes. So I have no idea where else to go.
Okay, I'll drop you a message and get you some better spots, because that place you talk about, I think you might get chased out of there by security these days.
Oh.
So I'll give you some better places to go and have a look.
It was 3 years ago that I was there last time, so maybe something's changed now.
Yeah, no, I think what happened with the world, they're a bit keen to sort of keep people where they should be these days. So
okay, yeah, that makes sense. Well, I would love any ideas and suggestions.
Spotting advice from co-host Steve.
What about foreign trips? Would you like to? Have you any like specific sort of bucket list airports what you'd like to spot at anywhere in the world?
I really want to spot at any New York airport, to be honest. The New York is definitely on my list to spot anywhere, as well as Barcelona. And I also want to go. I want to bring my boyfriend to Poland, to Krakow Aviation Museum, because we have an amazing aviation museum in Krakow. If anyone ever goes to Poland, just go to Krakow to Aviation Museum, because it's the best. And we have lots of MiGs, we have lots of helicopters, we have basically all types of planes in Krakow Museum. So it's also some Polish airports I want to really spot on.
Brilliant.
Fun.
So you're going to keep yourself busy then, aren't you?
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Yeah, sounds like it, yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, that's going to sort of end the guest side of things, but don't go anywhere, Julia, because then we have some people that just tend to end the call and we're like, no, we're not done yet. But no, thank you ever so much for coming on the show this evening. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was very much fun for me as well. Thank you for having me.
Very welcome. But we'll definitely have to get you back on if you do end up going to take your boyfriend over to Krakow Museum and let us know how that goes.
Yeah, I will.
Wonderful. Right. So we're going to move into sort of start to wrap the show up now. But before we do, we've got a couple of announcements to be made. So myself and Steve are sitting here knowing that this is the last show that we're doing where you can't see us, basically. And we have felt that time is right to show our faces. We're not doing it this evening. But next week's show... we are doing not so much a face reveal because you know what we look like, but you'll get to see us for the first time as we introduce video podcasts. So you will see us, you'll see us talking, and you get to see what kind of states our houses are in. No.
That's right. I'm in the garage. You'll get to see how bad that is.
But no, we are going on to video next week, so you'll actually get to see us. And we're we're excited for it, but we're also a little bit. At least I am anyway. I'm crapping bricks.
No, I'm level with you. I'm a little bit nervous about it, but we'll get through it. It's all part of the experience.
Crapping bricks is the best way to put it for me. So that should be a lot of fun. So that's going to be a lot of fun to be able to kind of bring you video podcasts, and should be good. The other announcement that we're making, and for those that are sort of the eagle-eyed viewers and stuff, have noticed that over the last couple sort of weeks we've been running polls about merchandise and things like that, and we have sort of got together and we have sat and sort of deliberated this, and we can formally announce that from next Monday, so the 27th of September, we are releasing merchandise. We are very excited for this. We've sort of taken the time to decide what we would think would be ideal, what would be sort of, what would sell, what you guys would want to grab off us, hence the polls. So Steve, we're excited for this, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely, and everything we've seen all looks good quality, and I think everyone's at home and that's going to really sort of enjoy it and hopefully sort of want to buy a thing or two off it.
I know a certain somebody that's in this show would like to buy something, isn't that right, Julia?
Yes. Yes.
But no. So Steve and I have got sort of samples, and we're going to wear them on the Sunday before the merch is released, so you can see what they look like. They don't look like the pictures because we've got them across the chest. That's purely for media reasons, but you'll get to see what they kind of look like anyway. But yes, next Monday we are launching our merchandise. So keep an eye out for that, which you'll be able to see on our social medias. So follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. To be the first to see the shop and grab some merch. Well, we got there, and we are sort of at that point now where we start to now properly wrap the show up. So this is the time of the show where we do some shout outs, and we tend to put the guest on the spot. So Julia, we're going to go to you first. You can give as many people as you like a shout out. Go.
There's 3 people I want to shout out, and the first one is, yes, you guessed it, my boyfriend. He's aviation photographer, and his photos are amazing, so much better than mine, like way better than mine. So if you want to see much better photos than mine, which is not that difficult, go to Scott May 96. And there's also this amazing lady that's taking amazing plane photos, and her Instagram account is WilsonWings49. Her name is Laura, and she's absolutely amazing. And we also have CJM Aviation, who's also taking amazing photos. So just check out those 3 amazing photographs, and give them a like from me.
Fantastic. Has your boyfriend been watching this evening?
Yes, he has.
We'll give him a shout out as well. So we'll all say hello. So everybody say hello. Hello.
Evening.
But no, fantastic. Right. Who should we go to next? Let's go with Steve.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you, Julia, for coming on tonight. It was interesting, and it was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much.
To yourself, Tom, for another good show. Thanks for having me on and sort of doing the show well and what have you.
Pleasure's mine. It's always fantastic to have you as the co-host. Bring a lot of fun to the show. So, not a problem.
And finally, a big shout out to Ian. I took your recommendation. I looked up the Chutney channel, and it was a bit bizarre. They were doing something. It was like a summer special, doing something with ice cream and sprouts, which I don't particularly want to try. But thank you for the recommendation anyway. And that's me this week.
Great shout outs. Great shout outs. What I will say is that Scott is in the chat and he has said hello. So we'll say hello again. Thank you for joining us, Scott, right at the end.
Yeah, no, pleasure. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, and hopefully you've enjoyed the show. We'll go over to Ian, shall we, for some shout outs?
Right, I'm just going to run through some of these comments, what were at the end of the comments section. And Rob Brown was saying, he'll take that as a fussy opinion then on the planespotters.net. So you're not wrong. It sounds like Rob's had a few run-ins with them as well, I think. I'd like to say hello to Jenny French.
Oh, Jenny French, hello.
Yeah, that's it. Late for the party again.
Yeah, where have you
been? Yeah, and Julia's boyfriend's popped in. Scott, is that him, Julia?
It's him. He's been watching.
Yeah. So he's popped in. So yeah, massive hello to Scott. And like Steve was saying as well, a big massive thanks to you as well. I've lost my train of thought. Then sorry, Julia. Sorry, I've gone.
I think Ian's lost it this evening.
Yeah, he was doing so well
after
last week. Unprofessional losing the plot.
But we'll let him compose himself. Might take a while, but we'll let him compose himself. But actually, I'll tell you what. Before he does his shout out, Julia, do you think Scott might want to come on the show?
No, I might ask him. I think he has so many stories to talk about aviation because he's been into it ever since he was ever since he was toddler. Actually, I think his very first air show was when he still couldn't walk. So he has lots of history with aviation that probably, and he has so much knowledge about aviation. Like, oh my god, everything about history of aviation, especially military aviation. But I'm just talking too much. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna have to ask him.
Brilliant. Yeah, Scott, if you are still listening, if you want to come on the show, you have been recommended by your girlfriend, so no pressure. But
I'm back again.
Right, have you sorted yourself out now?
I think I'll sort myself. Yeah. I was just going to say a massive thanks to Julia tonight. The excitement in your voice and the enthusiasm you've got when you're talking about your hobby, it's sort of like it sort of captivates you. You know, you've got this. You know, the buzz is really, really there, and it's strong with you, isn't it?
Absolutely adore aviation.
Yeah, you can see it. You can hear it in your voice, definitely. So yeah, massive thanks tonight, Julia, for the show. And a massive thanks to Tom and Steve as well for having me on as your comments guy as well. And I'm not going to mention any spurious channels what Steve's going on about. I don't know what he's getting up to, but I think I'll just leave that there, Steve. I think.
Well, you recommended it last week for anyone who watched, so don't try and deny it.
Yeah, well, it's actually something I was actually thinking of doing, and he's having an Instagram page just dedicated to different. I'm a massive Chutney fan, Julia. That's what it is, and I'm thinking about starting another Instagram page up, just trying different chutneys out and just putting opinions on there.
I totally I'm gonna be the first follower. Just let me know.
Oh yeah, brilliant. And I'm going to try it with different. I mean, everybody thinks of like chutneys and things like that, and just has it with a piece of crusty bread and some cheese and blobs it on, and that's it, and that's how they eat it. I'm going to try it with different things as well. Like you can put chutney on sausages and vegetables and all sorts of stuff. So definitely, yeah. So
Rob Brown plays point and says, "Chutney, anyone?"
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Scott just messaged me that he would love to do the show, so hopefully.
Fantastic. We will get that sorted. We'll get that sorted out sort of after the show. I suppose I'll do some shout outs now. So first of all, I want to give a big thank you to Julia for not just obviously being a guest on the show, but she's a bit of a fan of the podcast. So yeah, first of all, thank you for your support for the podcast, and then secondly, thank you for coming on this evening.
My pleasure. I absolutely adore your podcast. I'm gonna be a fan for a long time.
Thank you very much. Secondly, to Steve, for obviously another fantastic job and also helping me do this wonderful show this evening.
Oh yeah, well no, thank you. It's a pleasure as always to be part of it.
Another shout out to the chutney chump himself, Ian, for also doing a stellar job.
Always a pleasure.
Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my best friend of, nearly 15, 16 odd years. It's her birthday today. She doesn't listen, but she knows I'm giving her a shout out. So a big shout out to my best friend Sophie. It's her birthday today, so she's getting old, bless her. But happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday from
happy birthday.
me as well.
Yes, big shout out to Jenny French as well. I know she's listening, so big shout out to you. I know you listen a lot, so yeah, big shout out to you. And lastly, all the NHS workers, key workers, etc. around the world, who continue day in, day out to find a way out for us to sort of find some sort of normality through this absolute crazy times that we're going through. So big shout out to everybody there, and a big shout out, of course, everybody who watched and contributed to tonight's show. Still nervous, like I'm getting nervous thinking about next week, you know.
That's all right. I'm going to go and buy a tuxedo and get a haircut.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Next week we might run it to you guys. We are either going to discuss the Boeing 757 or the Boeing 737, but we will stick a poll up during the week to sort of have that decided. We're sort of not sure at the minute which one will be best, but we'll do that as a poll. But that will be next week's show, and the first one that we do on camera. Christ. Okay. Well, that's it. That's it for this week. It's been a lot of fun. Had a good few laughs, and we found Ian's love for chutneys more than we thought. So, but it's been fantastic. So all that is left to do is to say our goodbyes. So, Julia, do you want to sort of say goodbye to everybody that's still watching?
Yes, goodbye everyone that's still watching. It was lovely that someone was there with us, and have a good night, everyone.
Brilliant. Steve?
Thank you everybody for watching and joining in, and Julia again, and have a good week everyone. See you soon.
Wonderful. Chutney chump.
Yeah. Thanks again to Julie and everybody who's been in the chat tonight, and your good selves, you too. And speak to you all again next week. But if you ever do tune into my chutney channel, I'll never be reviewing mango chutney because that stuff's just evil.
I don't know. I quite like it. You can't beat it.
I'd rather dip a poppadom in something else, but not chutney.
Do you know? I'd never thought I'd combine this channel of aviation with chutney, but there you go.
Oh,
the self-plug-in of his channel is unbelievable, to be honest.
Oh yeah, and the planes place as well.
Yeah, go plug it on your own channel. No, it's all fun and games here. May even make a T-shirt with a chutney jar on it. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, and then from me, it's been a lot of fun. We will see you next week, same time, 7 p.m. next Sunday, for another fun-filled evening. This show will go on Spotify from tomorrow evening, and if you sort of want to check out Julia's photos, you can see her Instagram username on the screen for you to go follow her, and I highly recommend doing so. But that'll do it for us. So from all of us here, look after yourselves, continue to stay safe, and have a fantastic week. We'll see you next week.
That's cool.